Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 204. Without any delay, start explanation. The glow of the twin dragon dagger in Xie's hands dimmed. He stared blankly at Yuan and Yehue, prettily pouting in front of him. He simply could not believe that this was really happening. Yuan and Yehue looked all sorts of flirtatious. She behaved as if she was another person. This was not the cold Yuan and Yehue he had always known. She. A person was not a stalk of grass or a tree. How could a person ever be emotionless? As she looked at the foolish fellow in front of her, Yuan and Yehue could not restrain herself and gave him a good smack on the head. The two of them descended from the skies and dropped onto their lotus leaves. Yuan and Yehue's beautiful face had slightly reddened when she let go of him. Xie only truly understood the situation at that point. Ah! He suddenly gave a loud shout as he leapt high in the air. However, he immediately remembered Shulishi's sorrow after the great joy before this. He quickly controlled his body and descended lightly on the lotus leaf like a willow. Yuanan, I love you. From this day on, if you told me to go east, I will not go west. If you want me to catch a dog, I won't go after a chicken. From this day on, I'm yours. Xie did not land on his own lotus leaf, landing on Yuan and Yehue's instead. Although Shulishi was much chubbier than he was, in terms of the thickness of their faces, Shulishi could not compare to him even with both sides of his face combined. Xie was already hugging Yuan and Yehue as he leaped with joy. Hey! We're not even in the final segment yet. Be mindful of your conduct, said Tang Yinmeng with a smile from far away. When Tang Wulin saw this, he could not help but sigh in relief. Finally! Xie had finally gotten what he was hoping for after all these years of pining. He was genuinely happy for them. He also instinctively shifted his gaze to a faraway direction. Shulishi had succeeded, Xie had succeeded, but what about himself? It was a rare sight that Yuan and Yehue did not blast this fellow away. She only pushed his body further from herself slightly. She said softly, let go of me at once. If you continue to embarrass me, I'll go back on my word. You can't. Xie hastily let go of Yuan and Yehue. As he looked at the beautiful face in front of his nose, his breathing became noticeably heavier. He had finally risen to the ranks of a mother-in-law from a daughter-in-law. Although this was an odd choice of phrase to apply to a man, it aptly described how Xie was feeling. Xie pulled on Yuan and Yehue's hand. He stretched his right arm and guided his lotus leaf toward himself. He stepped onto it and brought her with him as they returned to his original position. The perturbed, depressed, and stifling feelings he had felt before this was completely gone now. He looked around charmingly. The triumphant look on his face even made Yuan and Yehue start to doubt if she had made the right choice by selecting him just like that. In any case, there was only one more girl that had not made her choice. According to the rules, the female students who have not removed their bamboo hats in this segment must wait until the final moment before they are allowed to make their choice. Female number 17, will you pick the male student whom you admire? All of Tang Wulin's awkwardness disappeared in this instant. His gaze sailed 100 meters across the lake's surface and landed directly on that girl. Everyone's gaze was also concentrated on her. This was especially true for those who had already guessed her identity. Xie and Yuan and Yehue had also calmed down. They looked at number 17 standing far away from them. Then, they looked at Tang Wulin and the three girls around him. The expressions of the duo turned slightly grim. Why was she unwilling to reveal her face? He had returned, so should she not be jubilant? What kind of problem had gone down between the two of them that made them not acknowledge each other even though they were already face to face? Under everyone's focused stares, female number 17 shook her head lightly after a brief moment of silence. Her movement was very slight and simple, but it made Tang Wulin, standing atop his lotus leaf, feel as if he had fallen into an abyss. She shook her head. She did not make a choice. She really did not pick him. She had not picked anyone, or even removed her bamboo hat. Without a doubt, this meant that she had no one whom she admired, and she was not interested in finding her partner in this year's Sea God's Fated Date festival. Tang Wulin felt as if something had suddenly taken hold of his heart. He immediately found it hard to breathe. His eyes were slightly blurred, and the edges of his lips now had a faint bitterness. Everything that they had experienced together overflowed in his heart. Why did you not pick me? Every encounter was a reunion after a long separation. He had been looked down upon because of his lack of talent, fought with his roommate soon after he entered the academy and was assigned to Class 5, which was the weakest. All these were sent his way by destiny. He had felt helpless once and was also lost. Even if his heart and mind were strong, in the darkness, he was still a child. In the unseen world, he had met someone after a long wait. It was a peaceful, sunny day. Thin wisps of clouds hung in the skies. The gentle breeze brought a faint aroma with it. On the field where everyone was drenched in sweat, he met with a pure white figure unexpectedly. She had delicate and pretty features, long black hair and black eyes. She seemed to have a strange air about her as she walked. Why are you wearing iron chains? To train my body, of course. Teacher has higher expectations of me. You're sharp. When they were eating, she seemed to have taken notice of his shocking appetite. She passed him her own buns. I can't finish mine. You have them. A single gesture had pulled them closer to each other. Everything was so smooth, it was like a concern from an old friend. She was Guu, and like the deep waters of an ancient well, she held many secrets within her. She was also like the broad, cold moon which cleared and brightened his eyes. He was a humble blue-silver grass, while she was the beloved child blessed by the elements. One of them went with the flow, while the other went against it. In the rapid torrent of time, they were reunited with each other after a long separation. I've been hugging you tightly no matter which side you took. They displayed tacit agreement in the class promotion tournament and assisted each other in the Spirit Ascension platform. They became friends in the truest sense of the word. When he came back smelling like barbecue, she could tell that he had met with another girl. When his crystallized form fell from midair, she caught him with her own body without hesitation to prevent him from shattering. I'm cold toward others. I'll only smile for you. When faced with the choice of whether she wanted to join Tang sect, her answer was no. He was afraid. He was afraid that the people around him would leave one after the other, just like his parents and little sister had done. Who says I'm leaving you? I've only chosen not to enter Tang sect, not leave Class 0. Joining or not joining an organization doesn't change my being at some place. I won't leave you. I'll be with you forever. When they were young, time trickled sluggishly as they snuggled up to each other warmly. On the Seoul bus, the sea was on the east. It was a boundless patch of blue, the sea seemed to melt into the skies. He looked at the beautiful scenery which flitted past the window. In his daze, he softly called out the name of his little sister. A silver silhouette disappeared from his mind as quickly as it appeared. When he reopened his eyes, what he saw was her looking astonished. She smiled faintly and gave him a glass of water. There was only plain water inside the glass. Its temperature was perfect and it nourished his heart. The sunlight fell on her face, which seemed to make her skin glitter in a translucent manner. He realized, as if for the first time, just how beautiful she was. The sparkling glow from the sun made her rest her head gently on his shoulder. Her breathing gradually calmed down. Without realizing, he had shut his eyes as well. His body felt warm and fuzzy. All his exhaustion silently faded away amidst the feeling of the moment. There were hardly any words. This scene was like a monochrome fragment of the years they spent together. With you, I would not be sad even if I died. On the Sky Sea Alliance tournament, she was suddenly attacked and could not react in time. The only thing she could do was bind her own hands and await her death. Suddenly, her body felt a warmth. He had hugged her and used his back to bear the brunt of the attack. Bright red blood flowers bloomed in her eyes, but there was no sadness or regret on his face. There was only a faint smile. How I wish I can accompany you on the roads that you'll take in the future. But I'll never forget my original intention. I want to protect you like this forever. You, who I hold so dear. Unfortunately, this might be the last time I'll be able to do this. She was flustered. She cared not about using up her own life force. She utilized her purest life's light to mend his damaged body. She did not care. She wanted him to live on. You've said that there's no contract in the world that can surpass the friendship between two persons who share the same fate. After you had grown up, you were still you. Time flew past as swiftly as an arrow. Days and months flashed past like a weaver's shuttle. 3 years had gone by. For some unknown reason, her attitude toward him had changed. She was not as friendly as she had been, and she even seemed to be distancing herself from him. They sat for the highest hall examination. They passed, but she was still distant. I don't want to. She hit you. I'm not happy. She turned around and looked straight into his eyes. There was no suspicion or reluctance on her part. She stated her reason plainly, without being open to other options. Thank you. Thank you for still being the person who'd do anything for me. So nothing has changed after all. When I have the ability to obtain justice, I'll come back. She was picked on. Faced with the imposing manner of the elders, he did not have an ounce of fear within him. He stood beside her, being neither haughty nor humble. This was because she who was being picked on was the person he wanted to protect. Tell me, is there justice in Shrek Academy? The answer was resolute and scornful. He felt powerless. In the face of absolute strength, was he truly unable to protect others, even his own companions? He raised his head. Elders, I forfeit my rights to take up Shrek Academy's entrance examination. One day, when I have the ability to obtain justice, I'll come back. For her, he wanted to give up on his ideals. Even if the world deserted you, I would still walk by your side. He had not returned for the whole night. She waited without saying a word. She leaned on a great tree with her eyes closed. A few drops of dew hung on her long lashes. Under the illumination of the dawn, the entire scene looked like a scroll painting. He looked at her in a daze. This moment was seared deeply into the depths of his heart. You're awake. Why are you sleeping here? It was already very late, and you hadn't come back. I came out to look for you, but I saw that you were still meditating, so I didn't disturb you. She said it plainly as if she was talking about something insignificant. There was a smile at the corners of his lips. He did not know why, but when he looked at the young lady before him, he had no intentions of saying the words, thank you. Life did not always need grand and spectacular surprises. Sometimes, simple ease and nonchalance were enough. Even if we disband, I'll still follow you. They had had a quarrel among their team. The others had disagreed with his opinion. For the others, crafting battle armor using spirit alloy was too lofty a goal and unthinkable, like a divine steed which soared across the heavens. However, she believed in him completely, standing at his side without hesitation. Forget it. I think I have been indulging in my wildest fantasies. No, I want to craft my one-word battle armor using spirit alloy. When she saw her stubbornness and determination, at that moment, his heart was filled with warmth. With you by my side, why should I be afraid even if I had to go against the whole world? Martial soul fusion. I'm in you, and you're in me. When they were faced with a powerful opponent, he still stood in front of her. He knew that they would surely lose, but he was not timid or overcautious. He was a person who could bear with her pride and waywardness, just because it was her. He was a person who would trade his life for hers to protect her. Her gaze gradually became lost. She opened her arms just like that and embraced him tightly from behind. There was no hesitation, only complete trust from her body and mind. Everything seemed to return to the days of their youth. That time, he was still a little boy who admired his senior. She was still a little girl who loved to quarrel. There seemed to be a vast dome above their heads which witnessed this mighty ritual. They had won, but they had fainted. Her hand seemed as if they had grown out of his body. The two of them could not be separated no matter what. They had obtained victory and glory while they in each other's arms. When two people traveled on conflicting roads, their fates might be severed. What endures forever was surely their martial souls and the bond between their spirits. Were they not each other's partner? Everything was like illusions in the clouds during that split second when she shook her head. At that moment, it was as though a sharp blade had dropped down from the sky, slashing the heavens and cutting the earth. For over 3 years' time, over 1,000 days and nights of separation, there was only she in his heart. On the other hand, she was not even willing to reveal herself to him when he met her at the sea god fated date festival. It had all become bitter, and an indescribable pain had spread out from his heart. "Brother," Enea's soft moan echoed at his side. Tang Wulin turned his head. He looked at her stiffly and smiled. Enea was stunned. She had never seen her brother smile like that. It was a stiff, awkward smile with a dash of despair and desolation. She suddenly felt that her heart was hurting, an excruciating pain. She clenched her fist subconsciously. She looked at him from afar under her bamboo hat and veil. He could not see that her eyes had already filled with tears. He could not see that long lashes of hers were gently trembling. She truly wished that she could unveil herself, but it was quite clear that she was indecisive when a choice needed to be made. On the train, they were discussing goals. Some as ambitious as Xie Xie, some as ordinary as Xu Xiaoyan, and some as comfortable as Xu Lixi. And also, marry you. The joke had clearly made her mood much more gloomy. This was the first time he had seen her so depressed, like the desolation during autumn. What had actually happened to her? Her ambition was perhaps genuinely very heavy. It was such a burden that all doubted and opposed her, but still, she had to bear it and go on. She did not wish to hurt her group of companions, so she chose not to speak rather than lie about it. Everyone has his or her own secrets. It's fine if you don't tell. How about your ambitions then? Military. I'm going to enlist. He wished to become even stronger so he could look for his parents and Enea. He gazed out the window as he smiled absent-mindedly. She seemed to have recalled his expression like a memory, in the past. Then, in the future, as it all flashed past her eyes one by one. That night, her hair was blowing in the wind. Her eyes were no longer black in color but exuded a faint purple glow. Orbs of light danced on her palms. A dash of dark purple leaped up in the end and vanished after a flicker. She was as beautiful as the mystery of the night. In her eyes, all were like deep pools of water. Life is truly a journey with travelers and scenes you find along the way. There will come a day when I disembark the train, but I'll leave behind the most wonderful memories of you. Let the memories of me freeze in your mind, so I'll never disappear from that scene. The fourth segment of Sea God Fated Date Festival had come to a close on the Sea God Lake. Destined for 3 reincarnations had ended. His original assumption of being destined for 3 reincarnations was exchanged for only a gentle shake of her head. A wordless rejection disheartened him. At that moment, he was actually hoping to make a quick escape so he could look for a place to bury himself. All right. Since female number 17 is unwilling to choose, we will not force her hand. However, you're not allowed to leave yet because there's still one final segment. Will all our females please return to your positions? Your choices earlier have already been recorded. Next is our final segment of the Sea God Fated Date Festival, known as Happily Ever After. According to the rules, the power of authority will be reversed in the Happily Ever After segment. The males are given the opportunity to make the final choice. If all of you pick the females who chose you earlier, then we'll be sending you our greatest blessing and congratulate all of you on the success of love. In this segment, the Sea God Maidens who have already chosen the males, have 30 seconds each to express to them something you wish to tell, especially to the males which many females have chosen. Our Sea God Maidens will need to work harder to impress their beloved males. If a male chooses a female who didn't choose him, then both of you have 1 minute's time for confession. However, I must also remind all of you that if you were to choose a female who didn't choose you earlier, then the rate of failure will be extremely high. The rate of failure for the previous year's Sea God Fated Date Festival exceeded 80%. At the same time, there's also one more rule that all of you should be aware of. In this final segment, the successful dating couple may possibly be the victims of bride kidnapping later. In the bride kidnapping segment, both of you are to confront the bride kidnapping together. If you are capable of reaching the Sea God Lake's shore with ease, then both of you are considered successful. Very well. Please make the necessary preparations. Happily Ever After begins now. We shall follow the previous arrangement of drawing lots. The first person to come forward is Xie. Oh, that is so soon. I didn't expect to draw your lot immediately. It seems like we can congratulate you in advance, but those who wish to kidnap the bride can also begin preparing. Xie first took a ferocious glance at everyone around him. One of the males beside him could not help speaking. Don't worry, brother. No one's going to kidnap her. I think that you alone have the courage to pair up with the Titan giant ape. Go on, quick. Xie glared at him unpleasantly, then he urged his lotus leaf into floating out. He joyously arrived at the spot at the front of all the males. I choose Yuan and Yehui. He had already lost his patience and shouted before the lotus leaf had completely stopped. Hey. It's not your turn yet. Lan Muzi could not help laughing. Xie puffed up his chest and spoke with a bold and confident tone. I'll choose her regardless. I have no other choice. The lotus leaf underneath Yuan and Yehui's feet floated out. I don't know if picking this embarrassing fellow is the right choice, but I just really wish to leave this place now. Xie laughed aloud. I'm your man from now on. He touched the tip of his toes gently against the lotus leaf as he crossed the water toward Yuan and Yehui at lightning speed. Yuan and Yehui truly wished to give him a tight slap, but it was during that moment when he had held her hand earlier, she knew that she would never again treat him the way she had done before. He had not given up throughout all these years. How was she oblivious to his effort in painstakingly cultivating all along for her? She had not accepted his courtship, but that did not mean that she had not been paying attention to him. He had many weaknesses, but his strength was his loyalty. He had never shown any interest in other girls, and he was always hounding at her side. Perhaps he was unaware that she was touched not because of his repeated love confessions, nor his willingness to cultivate for her, but because of his sweeping the floor and fetching her a basin full of fresh water every morning when they were at the working students' dormitory. She enjoyed seeing him working hard for her. He was quiet and focused at the time, and there was a sense of gentleness in his eyes. Perhaps she was moved by the view from the side of his face from that day. In her heart, she had already chosen him for quite some time, but she had been fearful. She was afraid that he was only acting on impulse. The trial that lasted over 1,000 days and nights was the evidence of his persistence. His hard work paid off, and he could finally return with this beauty in his arms. All right. I'm declaring the first successful couple from this year's Sea God Fated Date Festival. They are Yuan and Yehui and Xie. Congratulations. Both of you shall receive the Sea God's blessing and the Academy's good wishes. I wish that the both of you are destined for 3 reincarnations and live happily ever after. Speckles of light rose up from the distant Sea God Lake's shore, and exploded into dazzling fireworks in the sky. The smile and cheekiness on Xie's face had completely vanished under the glow of the fireworks. He held Yuan and Yehui's hands as he spoke softly. Yuan, I'll treat you well. I certainly will do so. I'll protect you with my life, and I'm willing to give up the entire world for you. I love you and I'm sincere. You're the only person I love in this life. Yuan and Yehui looked at him in a daze. His sincere appearance made her heart shudder gently. She lowered her head with a little shyness. Xie could not control his emotions anymore as he suddenly opened his arms and hugged her. This time, she did not push him away but wrapped her arms around his waist. The thunderous hand-clapping echoed from the shore over the lake's surface. The emergence of the first couple in the date festival made everyone cheer for them in excitement. Xie's eyes reddened, for he had waited so long for this day. He had truly waited far too long for the arrival of this day, and with great difficulty too. Tang Wulin was also clapping loudly. His face was filled with smiles. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations, Yuan and Xie Xie. The fireworks subsided. The lotus leaves underneath Xie Xie and Yuan and Yehui turned to a gold color before sending them toward the shore. No one came to kidnap the bride. They received everyone's blessings instead. The couple reached the shore, but they did not leave. There was also Xu Lixi and Yi Xinglan who had just changed their attires standing with them. I'm sorry, Sister Xinglan. It's my fault that we didn't see the fireworks. Xu Lixi looked apologetically at Yi Xinglan by his side. Yi Xinglan held his chubby hand like when they were children. There's 2 little fireworks here. I want even more and you'll buy it for me. Xu Lixi spoke with excitement. Sure. I'll buy the best fireworks in Shrek City and light the fireworks only for you. Stop being so cheesy. Xie Xie could not help teasing. Who else is cheesier but you? Xu Lixi glared at him. Meanwhile, Lan Mu's voice echoed over the surface of Sea God Lake. The next person is Tang Wulin. The 4 suddenly quietened down upon hearing those words. They could not help staring at the surface of the lake and clenching their fists subconsciously. Captain! The captain had returned. They had yet to cheer for him, but they were well aware that the next moment would be very important to him and his future partner. Why does she refuse to reveal herself? Moreover, she didn't choose the captain. Is it because she's jealous? Xu Lixi could not help saying. Xie Xie shook his head with a deep frown on his face. No, it couldn't just be jealousy. Are you not capable of understanding Gu's temperament? She will spare no effort in striving for something that she truly wants. Just like when she first arrived here, she would always sit by Big Brother's side. Even when we were doing the team hand stack, she would always place her hand underneath Big Brother's hand. Something must have happened between them, something that even we aren't aware of. I suspect that the cause of Big Brother's disappearance may be related to a change in their relationship. I feel the same too. If they can't be together again in today's date festival, I'm afraid, Yuan and Yehui sighed because it was something they did not wish to witness. Tang Wulin did not expect to be the second person drawn. The lotus leaf underneath his feet floated forward naturally and arrived at a spot before the males. The smile that was on his face just now had vanished. He stood rigidly on the lotus leaf. He was already 18 years old, and he had grown. As a man, he would not allow himself to wallow in despair regardless of what he encountered. He would stand firm like a man despite the agonizing ache in his heart. Cowardice would never solve a problem, much less gain sympathy. There were 3 females who chose Tang Wulin earlier. Next, we shall invite these 3 females to express their heartfelt feelings for him individually as a final effort to win him over. We'll still use the drawing lot method to determine the sequence of your love confession. Yingmeng, please carry on. Tang Yingmeng drew the first name. Wu Sidua. Wu Sidua raised her head and gazed into Tang Wulin suspended above the lake surface afar. At this very moment, she grew confident because Guu did not reveal herself nor chose him. Was their relationship over just because they had not met each other for over 3 years? Perhaps, there was still a strand of hope for her. She took a glance at the dragon spear goddess Enea. Enea was genuinely prettier than her, but she had not heard of Enea having any sort of relationship with him. Moreover, Enea was only 16 years old. Wulin, it's been a long time since we've met. After much consideration, I've decided to choose you at this date festival. Perhaps, I should say that my choice would be different if you haven't appeared. Yet, here you are. Frankly speaking, I despise you. I feel that you relied on luck to be a part of Shrek Academy. How are you then worthy to be our class monitor? Yet, you acted on your own to prove that you were qualified afterward. I've watched you grow every day and my confidence to be with you began to waver. You made a deep impression in my heart each time I lost to you. I'm a competitive girl. I always strive to be the best ever since I was young. I also want the best of everything. You're the best in my eyes and only you are capable of tempting my heart. I am not good at love confessions, but I can tell you that I'll accompany you as you progress further in this life. Her words were not touching, but it definitely came from her heart. Luo Guixing and Xu Yuqing, who were drenched and standing by the shore afar, had bitter smiles on their faces as they gazed at one another. They had figured out the reason why she chose him. It was because he was the best. Anything from Wu Lin? Lan Muzi asked. Tang Wulin sighed softly. I'm very sorry, Wu Sidua. There's no relationship between love and power. We are only classmates in my heart. I'm very sorry, as I already have someone I love. Wu Sidua took a deep breath. Is it still her? Tang Wulin's eyes suddenly glowed brightly as he spoke without the slightest hesitation. Yes. Wu Sidua nodded, then she smiled. I won't regret choosing you because you're the best even when it comes to your notion of love. I admit my defeat to her. She leaped up upon saying that, but she did not go to the shore immediately. She jumped into the water instead. Just like Luo Guixing and Xu Yuqing earlier, she dived into the water and vanished. Tang Wulin watched her exit. There was only an apologetic look in his eyes. Lan Muzi sighed. What a waste. Then, the next person is Dai Yuna. Tang Yingmeng called out the name. Dai Yuna's lotus leaf floated out. Her gaze appeared desolated because she understood very well that she was not the person Tang Wulin meant earlier. Brother 3, it has been ages since I last saw you. I've been looking for you for such a long time. Finally, we meet again at this date festival. Do you know how happy I was when I saw you earlier? It has been over 3 years, and to think you've just returned. I should have been the one that you were last together with. Could it be that you've forgotten how we supported each other as we walked into the depths of Dragon Valley? I wouldn't be who I am today without you. I've set my mind on you. This will never change even if you don't choose me. I love you not because you're the best but because you're you. I love you. Tang Wulin sighed softly upon seeing the tears on Dai Yuna's sweet, charming face. Yuna, I'm sorry. You should know that there's already someone else in my heart since earlier. I can't and won't do it. My heart has already been taken by her many years ago. I can only say that you arrived late. I like you because you have a kind heart despite being an arrogant princess. You're a kind girl. I can only say that it's a pity we met at the wrong time. I can't dissect my heart, so I can only regard you as a sister, or a friend, but you can never be my lover. Dai Yuna looked at him in a daze. There was only bitterness in the corners of her lips as she listened to his tactful rejection. She did not speak anymore, but she did not withdraw like Wu Sidua. She chose not to leave but remained standing persistently on the lotus leaf. Please welcome our last candidate, the Dragon Spear Goddess. Enea, it's your turn. The entire sea god lake and the shore were quiet when Tang Yingmeng's voice faded. The radiance of the moon and the stars in the sky made sea god lake beneath the starlit night sparkle. Her silver hair, purple eyes, and exquisite silhouette were reflecting the light under the moon and stars as she slowly arrived next to Dai Yuna. Her gaze appeared a little dazed, but there was radiance rippling in her eyes. Her gaze, as she looked at him, was no longer akin to a sister looking at an older brother. Tang Wulin was taken aback when he sensed that she was looking at him differently. Brother! Enea called out to him softly. Enea, you. Tang Wulin was frowning ever so slightly. Enea smiled. Brother, do you know the moment you took me in when I was 3 years old that I've already loved you? Even when you were not so strong, you did your best to defend me from those evil men. You're not only kind but brave. You're much tougher than your peers. Your martial soul had awakened when you were 6 years old. It was the blue-silver grass, a universally acknowledged useless martial soul. However, you had soul power when your martial soul was awakened. Your ambition was to become a soul master, but you dared not think about becoming a battle armor master at the time. You said you wished to control a mecha instead. Enea looked at Tang Wulin affectionately. At that moment, he was all her eyes could see. But one would need to spend a lot of money in order to become a soul master with a spirit soul. Our family was not well off. Father and mother had already worked very hard. Thus, you were only allowed to choose to study forging when you were 16 years old. I remember very clearly that you couldn't even make an expression because you were so tired after class in the beginning. You collapsed on the bed, and it seemed like you couldn't even hear me calling out to you. Yet you didn't give up. You still remained persistent in learning. You bought me candies with the remaining money after you had saved a portion of your salary every time. Those candies were so sweet. Do you still remember that I once asked if you would miss me when I'm gone? Tang Wulin listened to Enea's words in a daze. His mind seemed to have traveled back to 10 years ago when he was still at his home. My ambition is to go to the Star Sea. He was a youth with black hair, black eyes, and fair complexion. He stepped into the East Sea city alone with a vain hope as he embarked on an unknown journey. He had a useless blue-silver grass martial soul and his pitiful rank 3 inherent soul power. He was ordinary in the vast city, but even that tiny grass seed that was blown everywhere could always fulfill its original intention. While the rest of the people were still immersed in their parents' inculcation, he had lost his home. That dash of warm silver color was also moving away from his gaze and felt cold in his palm. Will you miss me when I'm gone? Of course I will. I'll miss you so much. The moist night breeze gently stroked his face. The warmth radiating from his left breast made him smile. It did not feel bitter but nostalgic as he reminisced about his past. The silver-haired girl was never too far away in his heart. She was still living in a corner of his memories as she called out to her brother under the setting sun. I'm Tang Wulin and my ambition is to go to the Star Sea. When that ordinary grass seed germinates into a lush green field, will I be able to hold your hand and visit the Star Sea again? Brother, I like you, I love you. I'm willing to spend all my time to accompany you in the future and be by your side always. Please allow me to love you. Is that all right? I'm serious. Enea's expression was so solemn that even the Atlas de Lor Yunming on the tower ship was feeling shocked. Tang Wulin's originally desolate and despairing heart could not help being moved. If one were to ask about how he prioritizes the females in his heart, then his mother, Enea, and she each occupied an unmovable position. Even so, he had never thought that she would talk about all this to him during the sea god-fated date festival with everyone's attention fixated on them. Enea, you're my sister. No, I'm not. I'm only your Enea. We are not related by blood. I'm only your Enea. I refuse to be your sister anymore. I'm only willing to be your Enea, she spoke stubbornly. Tang Wulin's body was shivering ever so slightly. Time's up, Enea. I can't allow you to continue speaking anymore for righteousness' sake. Tang Yingmeng's voice sounded slightly odd. She could not conceal the strangeness, but at least her behavior was much more composed than the rest of the crowd who were staring in disbelief at the scene with their mouths agape. Enea lowered her head with tears shimmering in her eyes. She had finally poured her heart out, but she did not say, "Brother, if you don't choose me, then..." If Tang Wulin was still capable of bracing himself to withstand Wu Sidua and Diuna's love confessions, then Enea's words shocked his mind and heart profusely. He once vowed not to allow anyone to make Enea cry, yet he had never expected that the person making Enea cry would be himself. Enea, why do you have to be so foolish? Yet there was an indescribable feeling in the depth of his heart for some unknown reason. Just as Enea had said, they were not biological siblings after all. Enea was the sister he took in, the sister he had watched over diligently. Enea suddenly raised her head and looked toward Tang Wulin with a burning gaze. There would never have been anyone else in your heart if I didn't leave back in the beginning. Tang Wulin's entire body shuddered. She was right. If she had never left at the start, if she had remained by his side all along. On the other hand, Enea shifted her gaze toward her back and looked at the figure still wearing her bamboo hat nearby after speaking. Lan Muzi and Tang Yingmeng's gaze was fixated upon Tang Wulin. Lan Muzi could not help exclaiming, "I truly didn't expect to meet you at such a huge scene for the first time, Junior Wulin. So many outstanding junior sisters are in love with you, including our little goddess. So this is the time for you to make a decision. As someone with experience, I would like to remind you that you ought to be decisive when a choice is needed, otherwise all will be chaotic. Make your choice, and let them understand how you feel clearly rather than hurting more people in the future." Tang Wulin would not have the slightest hesitation if not for Enea's words, but now he was truly reluctant. He did not wish to hurt Enea the most. What should I do? What should I do? Tang Wulin was slightly listless. As he stood on the surface of Sea God Lake, he felt that he was hesitating at a crossroad for the very first time. If he had known that this would happen in the Fated Date Festival, he would not have chosen to participate. He looked at them, and he was feeling highly troubled. Junior Wulin, please make your choice, Lan Muzi urged with a deep voice. Tang Wulin inhaled a deep breath strenuously as the energy in his entire body seemed to be shifting. He questioned his conscience and the answer was unusually clear to him. He did not want to hurt Enea, but more than that, he did not want to lie to her. Additionally, everything was so complicated. He did not wish to give up this opportunity even if it seemed extremely vague. I'm sorry, Enea. I choose female number 17. Tang Wulin exerted almost all the strength of his entire body as he spoke those few simple words. Everyone at the scene gasped in surprise, for all the outer court disciples did not expect that Tang Wulin would refuse to choose despite the dragon spear goddess weeping courtship, but he chose female 17 who did not choose him or even unveil herself from the beginning to the end. How? How is this possible? Wu Sidwa, Dai Yuna, Enea were three beauties. He did not choose either of them, but someone who did not even pick him, to everyone's surprise. On the shore. It's expected. The big brother is indeed the big brother, almighty and domineering. Only that Enea, Xie waved his fist subconsciously. Yuan and Yehue, Yixinglan, and Xu Lishi were all anxious at this moment. They knew that the most important moment for Tang Wulin was about to come. Faint radiance shimmered in the air. Female number 17's lotus leaf slowly floated out and arrived at the forefront. Lan Muzi and Tang Yingmeng gazed into each other's eyes as they saw the fear in their mutual expressions. They did not expect that Enea would be rejected either. On the other hand, the color on Enea's face faded at the split second when Tang Wulin spoke those words. She backed away for one step subconsciously, with half of her foot stepping into the water. Her body swayed before she managed to stabilize herself. Lan Muzi swallowed, and then he looked toward female number 17. According to the rules, you must remove your bamboo hat and veil now. Then, listen to his love confession for 1 minute. Female number 17 paused for a moment before she raised her hand slowly to remove the bamboo hat and veil from her head. It was a pale, charming face with black hair and black eyes. She did not appear extraordinary when compared to Dai Yuna and Enea by her side. She was actually completely concealed by the radiance emitting from the two females beside her. Her face was already covered in tears since earlier, tears that she could not control. She watched him while her lips remained trembling gently all along. Tang Wulin smiled as he saw the tears on her face. He smiled because she was not treating him mercilessly. He could suddenly feel like everything was worth it when he saw those tears. You should choose her. Gu turned her head to the side and looked to Enea's direction. Enea did not utter a word. Gu spoke of something baffling again. I don't want to win. On the other hand, Enea smiled. Her pale face was filled with a faint grin at that moment. She puffed up her chest as she suddenly looked toward Gu with slight arrogance. There are things that aren't up to you. Gu shut her eyes as tears streamed down her face. However, do you know how great the price he would have to pay? Our life would be unbearably tough in the future. Enea spoke with determination. I don't. I can only hope that I'm capable of giving myself entirely to him. Tang Wulin looked at them in a daze. Had he been oblivious to the fact that their relationship had really become so close? What were they talking about? How could he not understand a single word they said? Lan Muzi could not understand either, but the Fated Date Festival had to go on. Wulin, it's your turn. You have 1 minute's time. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.